Hey everybody, welcome back to Whiteboard Finance. In today's video, I'm gonna teach you about 5 things that you should never cheap out on. I want you to picture yourself on your deathbed at your 85, 90 years old, maybe longer, who knows, depending on how long you wanna live. My point is that if you're on your deathbed and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, man, I wish I never really went to that concert, never traveled, never did any of these things that are important to me, spend time with my family, all these things. I just wish I put more money in the S&P 500. Dang it, and then you croak, right? Obviously, no one's gonna do that on their deathbed. So this video is gonna be a little bit more opinionated, a little bit more quantitative rather than qualitative compared to my other videos. And there's gonna be a lot of wisdom packed into this video based on my life experience. Stay tuned. Okay, number 1 is sleep. And I promise you, this is not sponsored by a mattress company, okay? The reason for this is because it's your foundation, it's your base for everything. It sets you up for the next day, okay? How many of you have gone to work when you've slept, 3 hours, 4 hours? You went out the night before, you're half hungover, you're just like, oh my God, why did I do this? You spend a third of your life asleep, okay? So why would you cheap out on the one thing that you do more than anything else other than maybe sit on the toilet, right? So the first thing I wanna talk about are pillows, okay? When you lay on a flat, dead pillow, it's basically like sleeping with a folded towel under your head. You wake up with a stiff neck and just accept that as, hey, I'm just starting my day, it's normal. So try to replace it every couple of years with a memory foam or shredded latex pillow or something like that. I'm not a pillow expert, but this helps. Mattress, obviously this is very important. So when you have an old sagging mattress, it's squeaking, it wrecks your back every time you wake up. Obviously you need to change this out, okay? Invest a little bit more. You don't have to go crazy and spend $5,000 on a mattress. There's a lot of nice mattresses at Costco. If it's more than 7 or 8 years old, swap it out for some like medium firm hybrid or memory foam mattress. You can even sleep on the floor. A lot of people use these Japanese mattresses on the ground now, but that's for a different video, I guess. Finally, sheets and bedding, okay? Don't get the cheap polyester, non-breathable stuff. You're gonna sweat, your skin's not gonna be able to breathe. Shoot for 100% cotton. And then also no electronics, okay? Your bedroom should be for procreation and sleep. That's it. Get your phone out of there, get the TV out of the bedroom, get the electronics and the blue light out of your bedroom. Okay, number 2 is you versus the ground, okay? The literal ground, okay? So hear me out here. This is mostly geared towards safety and comfort. Everything you do all day comes down to a few thin layers between you and the ground. This is not the place to cheap out on, okay? So let's start with shoes. When you have worn out shoes, they're gonna wreck your feet, your knees, and your hips over the long run, especially if you're on your feet all day, especially if you're in the medical field or you work outside, for example. So depending on your line of work and daily habits, your shoes should not be something to cheap out on. They also show you your personality to others, okay? Whether it's through fashion, whether it's through comfort, have a nice pair of shoes, okay? And keep them clean, have some pride. Number 2 are tires, okay? I know this is kind of a weird subject in general, but I try to go outside the box here. So when you have bald or old tires, they're not just unsafe for you and your loved ones, they're unsafe for others sharing the road with you, whether it's a dirt bike, motorcycle, a car, and also depending on what climate you live in, get a nice set of all-season tires. I like Michelin Cross Climate 2s. That's what I've had on my cars for a while. And then also, I don't know what the hell I was trying to draw here. It went from like a bicycle to a car to just something really weird. But this is a helmet, okay? If you're gonna be in any active sports like mountain biking, motorcycling, anything like that, you need to wear a proper helmet, okay? Go get a bike, go get some exercise, but also be safe. And I'm not trying to patronize or lecture you, but I know a couple people that have actually unfortunately passed away because they were too cool to wear a helmet. So always wear a helmet, have some nice shoes, and get some nice tires. Okay, number 3 is your health, duh, okay? Time and health are your most important things, and you should not cheap out on this. So catching something small early on, obviously it's annoying, but it's also gonna be cheap, okay? Catching it late is going to be stressful, terrifying, and expensive. So number 1 is food, okay? Eating cheap, low-quality food to save a few bucks a week just pushes the cost onto your future health. You have to think about your long run, okay? So spend a bit more on real food like fresh produce, lean protein, instead of this ultra-processed, frozen meals, all these colors that don't happen in nature, these bright reds and oranges and things like that are just on these like packaged goods, right? So regular checkups, okay? This is why I drew a ER bill here. So when you skip checkups, it means small problems, they go unnoticed until they're big ones, okay? So book the yearly physical and blood work even when you don't feel like it, okay? Dental care, ignoring a small cavity just because, it's annoying, you don't wanna pay for it, it's gonna turn into a root canal down the line. So go twice a year for a cleaning and catch small issues before they get expensive. And then health insurance, okay? Going uninsured to save on premiums is probably one bad accident away from wiping everything you saved, okay? Get a real health plan instead of going bare. The other thing I wanna touch on is if you're physically able, try and walk 10,000 steps a day. I know that metric is kind of annoying and it's overused, but it really is the number to shoot for. Get a little Apple Watch or something that tracks your steps, walk 10 steps a day. And again, you're gonna spend a little bit more money now, but you're gonna save way more in the long run as long as you're eating healthy and doing all these things. And of course, things can happen even if you're health conscious. Obviously, these things happen. And God forbid it doesn't happen to you, but at least an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. Speaking of health, here's a word from today's video sponsor, the FSA Store. Shout out to the FSA Store for sponsoring this video and for sending me this Therabody Wave Solo, which I had no idea was FSA eligible. Most people think their FSA is just for copays and prescriptions, but devices like this, which target muscle pain and aid physical recovery, actually qualify as medical expenses. That's real money you already set aside before taxes going towards something just like this. The problem is figuring out what actually qualifies on your own. That's where FSA Store comes in. Every single one of their 2,500 plus items is guaranteed eligible, so you can just use your FSA card at checkout. There are no receipt submissions and no guessing. And we're not talking about basic OTC stuff either. Their 2,500 plus items include high-tech health tools from brands you already know. To start shopping, visit fsastore.com/Marko Whiteboard or scan the QR code on the screen. Thanks to FSA Store, where everything's eligible, for sponsoring this video. Okay, number 4 is the most important one on this list other than health, and that is time, okay? I've been talking about time and health on this channel for years. They're the two things that money can't buy, okay? Show me the richest guy in the world who's sick, I guarantee you he'll pay all his money to become healthy again. Show me rich people that don't have time to fart, what do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna try and outsource things. Time is the one thing you can't earn back no matter how much money you make. Doing everything yourself, it can save you a few bucks, but it's gonna eat up hours that you'll never get back. So pay for like a cleaning service if you hate cleaning, or a task-based helper instead of losing your whole weekend to something. I personally enjoy cutting grass. I personally enjoy cooking. I personally enjoy certain things, so I'm not gonna outsource those things. But if something that you absolutely hate, you need to outsource. Also, hiring professionals. Trying to save money doing your own legal or electrical work, it can turn a small problem into a huge one. So pay a licensed electrician or plumber up front, and it's gonna be cheaper than fixing your mistakes later, okay? Here's another one that everyone can afford, and that's automation or AI or software tools. I pay $20 a month for Claude. I also pay $20 a month for ChatGPT. It's easily the best $20 a month that I spend, okay? Because it saves me a ton of time. It helps me work on my business. It helps me outsource different things. I can give it a whole project, go eat lunch for 10, 15 minutes, come back, and I basically have a baseline at least. So it's 100% worth it. So use automation and software tools where possible. And then finally, an accountant. I made this its own category because so many people DM me on Instagram and they ask me, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? I'm not a CPA, that's why I hire one. So DIYing your taxes, yes, you can save a fee. It's gonna cost you way more because you missed deductions or mistakes. If you hire a good CPA, they usually fine you more money than they cost, okay? Especially if your taxes are a little bit more complicated. If your taxes are super simple, you have 2 W-2 incomes, yes, you could probably do it yourself. But if you have like a business, if you have a bunch of things going on, hire a competent CPA. They're probably gonna find you a lot more in deductions and savings than what they actually cost. Okay, number 5 are experiences and memories. Nobody remembers the money they saved. Like the analogy that I gave you in the beginning of the video, where you're on your deathbed and you're like, oh, I wish I didn't travel the world, go to concerts, go on family vacations, hang out with my parents and grandparents. I wish I just put more money into the index funds and the S&P 500. Oh, obviously no one's gonna remember that. They remember the trip they didn't take, okay? They remember the vacations they went on, okay? And when I say vacations, you guys, I think there's a big misconception when I talk about this. I have roots in Europe, so it's a lot easier for me to have a more authentic experience when I go over there. I have friends, family that I've known forever. When I'm saying vacations, I'm not talking like all-inclusive slop, okay? Where it's excelente, and everyone's just like, you're just eating like cattle, like eating slop in this all-inclusive resort. I'm talking genuine vacations, okay? I'm talking about places where there's like a 10% chance that you're gonna get robbed or killed, okay? That's a fun vacation to me. All I'm trying to say is, try and stay away from the generic tourist trap stuff, okay? Do something a little bit more authentic. Go off the beaten path. Go to a small village instead of going to some, like I went to Rome. Rome sucked. Rome was terrible. Food sucked, people sucked, everything sucked. It was the worst thing ever. Yes, it was nice to see the historical stuff, but as a city, terrible. Couldn't pay me to go back there. Music, concerts, things that you're never gonna forget, okay? I'm not talking about going to the next most popular Taylor Swift thing or whatever. And maybe if you genuinely like that kind of music, that's fine. I'm talking about something that's like once in a lifetime. Say your favorite artist is coming to your hometown or you're gonna make a trip out of it. Do it. It's gonna be fun. You're gonna remember it forever. Family vacations, okay? Not just traveling, but also making memories with families. It doesn't have to be some full-blown vacation. It could be camping. It could be something. As long as you make memories, I think there's studies that have shown that kids, they form some of their most fondest memories around like 8 to 12 years old, okay? And they remember that for the rest of their lives. And also spend time with your parents or aging grandparents. Call them once in a while. Hang out with them. Involve them in your plans if you're lucky enough to still have them in your life. You know, some people hate their parents, they hate their grandparents, whatever. I don't know how that's possible, but try and make an effort and hang out with these people, okay? You came from them, so why not be with them? So again, experience and memories. You don't have to fall for the 20 grand Amalfi Coast. You know, that's stupid. If it's on Instagram, don't go there, okay? Go to places off the beaten path. Music, you already know that. Kids, think about your kids if you have them, and then also the elderly as well. Okay, so my thoughts at the end of the video, as always. I can summarize this entire video in 4 words. Cheap now, expensive later, okay? What's something that you wanna actually take out of life? You can afford anything, but you can't afford everything. Okay, let me repeat that. You can afford anything, but you cannot afford everything. What do I mean by this? You can afford the really nice concert. You can afford the big family vacation. You can afford, let's say, World Cup tickets. Yes, I know they're thousands of dollars, but guess what? That could be a bucket list item. If you're cheap now, it's gonna be more expensive later. When you're on your deathbed, you're gonna say, oh man, I really wish I went to the concert, the game, the vacation, the whatever's important to you. So again, cheap on your health now, more expensive later. Cheap on family memories now, it may cost you your relationships later, okay? So with all this being said, I have 2 things that can help you. Not with this, but with your personal finances. I have a 7-day roadmap. It's a Google spreadsheet. Just click the link or scan the QR code right here. Hit file, make a copy. It's yours for free. If you can afford $10 a month, I hope you can afford it because your internet connection or cell phone bill costs more than that. Check out my private community, whiteboardfinanceuniversity.com. I share all my trades, what I'm selling, buying, 3 full courses, real estate, stocks, budgeting, and then also live streams every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with yours truly. And we talk about literally everything in there. It's a really nice virtual meetup if you wanna look at it that way. So check all this out, Whiteboard Finance University, down in the link below or scan the QR code here. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your viewership over all of these years and have a prosperous day.
Come along with tour guide Marko. Discover the best food in Europe.
Oh, Marko, you didn't like the pasta in Rome?
Bro, I can go to Costco, get rouse, and boil some noodles. It was better than the food I had in Rome. I couldn't wait to get back to the Balkans. If you want to actually go to real Europe, go a little bit east of the Adriatic, buddy. And then Spain. Spain was awesome. Highly recommend it. All right, peace.